Hello and welcome to my book review on The Terminal List by CARR. Now, those of you familiar with The Terminal List most likely have seen the series starring Chris Pratt, and this is what drew me to the novel. I started watching The Terminal List a few months ago and found it a fantastic series. I was immediately sucked into the world space, I enjoyed the characters, so of course I eventually found myself learning a bit more about the writer behind it. In doing so, it finally encouraged me to read the book, and so here I am providing a review on it. Now, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you are interested in reading the book or checking out the series, well, I'll make sure I don't give you any of the juicy details. Instead, I'm going to be telling you some of the obvious things that you would want to know about the book. Is it worth the time? Is the writing style good? Are the characters enjoyable? Is the plot sound? Well, that's going to be covered now. The Terminal List is a revenge thriller, following the main character James Reese, a Navy SEAL who has been wronged in some way by a mysterious government organization. Now, James Reese has been wronged in several ways, which leads him down this path of revenge. I'll only reveal one of these ways, as it is revealed right at the beginning of the book, and that is that his team has been killed in a botched mission. 21 of his comrades are killed in action. And it doesn't end there. This already puts James Reese in a bad state of mind, but also there are some details which just don't make sense. And that is the thriller aspect of this book. This is the story of David and Goliath, where you have a hero who's up against forces which are much stronger than him, so he has only his wits and skills to help him out. If you are familiar with another thriller called Shooter, or Point of Impact, which is the book's name, you might get a good kick out of this story as well. So now we've talked about a Navy SEAL going after some forces who've wronged him, but let's talk about the writing style, because this is a complicated plot and it needs to be presented with clarity. Luckily, CARR is ex-military, so he knows what he's talking about. When he wrote this book, he had clarity in mind, not just in the sense that he wanted to tell a good story, but he wanted the story to be believable. So that means that his detail in the story is fantastic. When I went into this book, I was expecting some kind of detail because it was a military, you could say, thriller. And that meant that I expected it to either have a Lee Child level of writing, where it provides you with some details, but they're kind of superfluous. And then you have Tom Clancy, who's at the very top, providing you with so much detail, it's like you bought a manual and a story just came along with it. Luckily, I would say CARR fits somewhere in the middle. He gives you all the details that you need to know. He doesn't spend too much time on the emotional scenes to the point where it just comes off as dramatic and unnecessary. But at the same time, he doesn't spend so little time on them that you don't get that emotional impact. The same thing applies to the more technical aspects, for example, the weaponry, the technology, and so on. This level of detail also made it quite easy to get through the novel, and it's a very fast-paced novel. Not simply because of its subject matter, but its writing style as well. You see, every chapter is almost like a single scene, maybe two, and they're very short. As a result, I wrote about 20-30 chapters before I made it to the second part of the story. I kind of already understood what the story was going to be about and where it would go, having watched the series. But as I started reading the book with a fresh mindset, I couldn't help but notice that there is such clarity that you understand what's going to happen even if you didn't watch the series. And I found that great, because this isn't a mystery novel, it is a revenge thriller. So you're kind of just watching the action play out and not trying to figure out why it's playing out. And now I'd like to also take a moment to talk about the characters themselves. The characters do come off as realistic, although there were some scenes which I felt were kind of unnecessary. It feels like they sometimes dip too much into the realism of the character, and that's something which I've talked about in the past, I'm not very fond of. You see, I'm one of those people who likes to enjoy a more two-dimensional character, because I feel authors are going so far into the three-dimensional that their characters are coming off as too morally grey to be enjoyable. Luckily, that wasn't the case here. CARR didn't take it to the extreme. These are grounded characters, but they aren't characters that sometimes shift to suit the story. Instead, these are characters who know what they're about and they stand by it. Those personality fluctuations and those morally ambiguous desires really do make a story, I feel, lackluster. It kind of feels like every character is the same, and you don't know who to really root for. And before I get into my final thoughts and review on this book, I'd like to say that I'm going to be doing more of these videos in the future, more reviews and writing videos, so if you want to check those out, be sure to subscribe. Now, as far as this book goes, I would rate it a solid 8 out of 10. I didn't feel it was that emotionally impactful to me, but I still felt that you got what you wanted. You had a character who was terribly wronged, you get to see them do amazing things, and it comes off as a great badass story. It's nothing more than that, and I feel that's all that Jack Carr wanted to tell. I don't think he wanted to have some moralistic approach to the story. Now, of course, there are some political aspects to this story, but it's more about the sense of individualism, and it's not painting one side as bad or the other. So if you're worried about politics being a major thing in the story, that's nothing to really worry about. It's all about one guy against people who've wronged him, not about one party versus another. And there you have it. Those are my thoughts on The Terminalist by Jack Carr. I might read the next books in the future, as I did enjoy this one and felt it was a quick and easy read. And if you have read the book, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now, those of you who are writers themselves and want to take their writing to the next level, I have a free writing course in the description below, or you can click on the card above. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review. Happy reading.